Hey everybody, welcome to this week's live stream. I hope everybody's doing great today. So we are almost upon Christmas. So this will be the last one before Christmas. So before I forget, Merry Christmas. And probably we'll see you guys before the new year, I think. Yeah, we got a stream next Saturday. So, but Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy Hanukkah or whatever else, whatever other holiday you guys celebrate. So today we're going to be turning up those, we did porcelain powder and we did marble powder. Okay, and these ones, I was like, I don't know, the marble especially seemed pretty gritty when I was mixing it up. So these might be kind of a little bit more on the fun scale where, I don't know, we'll have to kind of see how this goes type thing. But I'm pretty happy with the results. And I totally realized I forgot to post a short and Instagram reel of the demolding. Oh well, this week's been kind of crazy. So anyway, like I said, I hope everybody's doing great today, ready for some action. Hope everybody's ready for Christmas, got all your gifts made and finished up and wrapped and all that kind of stuff, and are looking forward to spending some time with some fun people, hopefully, and eating well, or not so, healthy, but good. So let's see here. I saw a question. It was David, I believe, was asking about turning tools, high-speed steel, and everybody had really good suggestions. I've tried Thompson; they were pretty good. I think that if I was going to go for like a brand like that, I think Carter and Sons. I have some of theirs too. I liked their stuff. They got a lot of really cool tools. So either of those, Robert Sorby definitely is good. To be honest, if you're looking for cheap, I forget the name of it. There's like some super cheap ones that are reasonable. I can't remember the name of that. But if you're looking for like, I'm going to buy these and kind of like, I don't need to replace them or mess around. Carter and Sons is a good brand. There's lots of them though, honestly. I mean, there's very few that are just absolutely terrible, I think, honestly. I don't know. I mean, there are some, but not that many. Just look for something that's got good steel, and you'll be good to go. One of the things with the Thompson and the Carter and Sons, they have like the handle system thing where you can get like an aluminum handle. I think you can just make your own as well, but you get like this full handle system and all that stuff, and you just replace the steels in the handles. They're pretty cool. Same with Thompson. So if you're interested in that kind of deal, those are both good brands. But, like Robert Sorby's excellent too. And I can't think of any, I haven't bought high-speed steel tools for a long time or like looked at them. So those three are definitely, you can't lose. So let's see here. I'm going to scroll down, make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh yeah, if you're in a cold shop, yeah, that's true. Although you could just like wrap it with tape if you wanted, but you're spending a lot of money on an aluminum handle. So I agree. I haven't picked those up for a while. Wood is definitely nicer on the hands. But like I said, I'm pretty sure that, I'm pretty sure you can just buy, there's like a collar system, so you could actually turn your own handle for these things, I think, if you wanted. So anyway, so I decided, I thought I'd wear my Saturday morning cartoon shirt. It's kind of Christmassy. I don't really have any Christmas shop shirts out here, so. Let's see, who's here? We got Mike McEwen's in the house, and Vinny, and Jennifer, and Paul in Anchorage. That's nice. That'd be fun. That would be kind of cool to spend Christmas in Alaska. Pretty neat. And we got Bruce, and Kim's here, and David, of course. And who else is here? We got Brian over at TBC. And if I missed anybody, I apologize. I'm just kind of scrolling here. Mike Doyle's here, Lelia. Homer Lex is in the house. And oh, you have a cheap set that don't hold an edge. Yeah, that's not fun. That's one of the nice things about the steel from Thompson and Carter. I think they're both like a cryogenically treated. I don't know. There's some special steel. They're pretty good. They're a little bit different though. Like steel is actually, there's lots of different ranges of types of steel depending on what you want. If you're looking for like long holding of edges, but aren't as concerned with like the super sharpest possible thing on the planet. I think like Thompson and Carter, I think the way that they do their steels, I think they tend to, especially, I'm pretty sure, especially Thompson, I think it's meant to last longer, like hold an edge longer. But I believe that they are harder to get, and anybody in the chat that knows, it's been a long time since I really kind of looked into this stuff. I use carbide for most things at this point. But I believe that like you can get a sharper edge from other types of steel, possibly like a Sorby, their types of steel. And Carter might be kind of like Thompson. I can't remember that. But either way, like if you get a good steel regardless, like it's going to hold an edge a lot longer than the cheap steel. That's the thing, you know, you look, and that's the difference between cheap and expensive tools, usually. Sometimes there's a little bit of marketing, but it's not that, you know, just marketing and they're like, oh, well, you know, we're a bargain brand and we're something else and they all cost the same. There's different technologies going into these things, into the like raw materials, and you're going to get better steel from a reputable brand. So let's see here. Anything else? I don't think so. Yeah, not to say that they don't get sharp. I mean, but I believe there was something with like, if you get really nerdy about this stuff, like you can get a keener edge somehow. And I may be jumbling things. It's been many years actually since I looked at this. I definitely kind of know back from like the chisels and plane irons, depending on which types of steel you got, you could get a technically sharper edge. But I think we're splitting hairs, honestly, with a lot of that stuff. It's more just get a good type of steel and they'll all work pretty well. So let's see here. So let's go to the overhead. Where are we at here? We're going to go to this thing. So here are the results. Here are the porcelain blanks. They're looking pretty snazzy. I'm excited about these guys. These ones are not as heavy. I would say that they're a little bit more similar to the... and we kind of talked about this. It seemed like when we were mixing it, this seemed a little bit more like the, what was it? The talc and all that stuff. Maybe a little bit more abrasive. And then the marble is definitely, it sounds a little bit different. They seem a little harder. And like I said, when I was mixing it, it felt kind of gritty. So cutting these things, the marble pretty much, now I had a pretty old saw blade on my table saw, but it was done after I cut and we're just doing a cross cut, right? If I was pouring a brick of marble, like it would be done, like cutting the first, you know, just making the first cuts to get the blanks kind of separated. If I cut on each side, it would probably kill a blade. But when you're just doing like cross cuts, and this is one of the reasons why I'm wanting to switch over to most things being round blanks, because cutting them is much easier. Like I'm gonna not have to sharpen my blades as much, because taking this little cross cut, I mean, really, if you compare cutting a brick, like lengthwise, well, I guess I cut this way, to, I mean, like one cut through the brick is pretty much like cutting the entire batch of blanks. If you think about how much, you know, you're cutting, it's probably less because they're not well, it's not as thick even. So there's a lot less wear on the blade when you're doing just cross cutting like this, but I will tell you that blade was toast afterwards. And even looking at the ends, I don't know if you can see that, it seems like powdery-ish. It's a different type of look, even than the porcelain, really. Porcelain's similar, but compared to like a normal blank, there's none of that look on just a regular, you know, pen blank, resin pen blank. I don't know if this is really going to come through on the camera, but it's just pretty much, you know, it just looks like a resin. These things look a little bit kind of chalky almost. This one definitely, the marble. It's just different looking. So here's the deal. I'm pretty sure, and I've already turned one of each. So I did the, you know, these blue and yellow ones. To be honest, the one that we didn't mix up, actually, we didn't mix either of them, I think. It's not too bad. There's not a whole lot of green, but obviously you can see some kind of greenish look going on here and there, especially, like I said, where the thin parts are. So I wouldn't say that these are going to solve any kind of problem with, you know, the dyes bleeding. Turning these, you know, this was the marble one, and you can see even the surface looks a little bit funky. It's just kind of, I don't know. It's like there's little particles. And now the thing is, there might actually literally be particles going on with that marble powder. It may be like, one of the issues with the marble is it might have been bigger chunks of marble powder compared to even the porcelain, because you don't really see a whole lot of that on this one. So the porcelain turned pretty well. The marble was hard, definitely. Now, let me go find our blanks that we're going to turn today. We're just going to do a couple Sierra style. They're actually Monarchs. I believe both of them are Monarchs. Definitely this, the copper one is for sure. I'm not 100% sure on this one. It's something like that though. So I just decided we'll go with like kind of a silver one. And then I thought this kind of brushed copper was going to be kind of cool with the marble maybe. I don't know. We'll have to see. But drilling these things out was not fun. Okay. So that's where I can definitely tell you this stuff is hard. Or like it's hard and abrasive. It wasn't a brand new drill bit, but it struggled. Like you really were kind of almost forcing the drill bit in, definitely with the marble, a little bit even though with the porcelain. So this stuff is definitely harder or more abrasive than your, you know, definitely more than just resin. But I would definitely say more than the talc or the cornstarch. I don't think that stuff was abrasive like at all. I didn't notice it if it was. In fact, it really made the blanks softer feeling. They turned really well. It really reminded me of Alumilite White, which is a softer resin. So again, I think there are some benefits to going with like the talc or the cornstarch. You know, and it's not going to cause any issues with abrasiveness or make it harder to turn or do anything. It will give you a couple of different things that we've talked about. With the marble, I don't know. We'll have to see how these things turn out. I'm not sure that it's going to be something that you're going to be like, oh yeah, what I really need to do is add marble powder to my resin. We'll have to kind of see. So yeah, masonry bits for the marble blanks. No, but I will say your drill bit's probably going to be kind of dull. Like you'll probably want to get it sharpened after you drill this stuff out. It took a while. It was significantly like harder. You know, like you couldn't go as deep per pass. It just seemed like it was taking forever. But nothing terrible. Now, it wasn't as bad as like seashells or something like that. You know, somebody mentioned that. I don't think that it's that abrasive or bad. If you think about it, this thing is chock full of marble powder, and it's more abrasive than resin or anything like that, but it's not the worst thing that I've ever drilled in my life or whatever. So yeah, Vinny mentioned it. I don't think it's as bad as seashells. Those things were terrible. Like it just flat out caused the drill bit to just wander. It was so hard that it just diverted it. And I mean, the hole was elongated. Everything about the seashell blanks, I hated. There was no part that was fun turning those things. That stuff is, there's a scale called the Mohs, M-O-H. I'm gonna type it in just M-O-H. Mohs hardness scale. And I'm pretty sure that seashells are like at the top of that list. Actually, I'm gonna look it up. There's like, diamond is at the top, I think. And it doesn't cover everything most of the time, but yeah, diamond is 10, corundum is 9, topaz is 8, you know, and so in calcite, talc is 1. I don't know where resin sits on there. Gypsum is 2. So I don't exactly know what like marble is, but I would say that it's probably up there by like the quartz area. And so it's very high. And so obviously, you know, like I said, talc is 1. It's not hard at all. So kind of an interesting little scale thing. But let's head over to the lathe and let's start turning these things. Let's see, make sure there's no questions here. Softer steels develop a sharper edge. Yeah, that's the trade-off. Good point. The sharper edge is not gonna, it's like a finer point and it's gonna dull a little bit quicker. That's good call. Silica. I think it's what is the seashells are calcium carbonate. It's the marble powder glass bits. Using like a glass drill bit to cut it. I don't know. I would probably, if there is like a diamond tipped one, that's what I would go with. If I was, I wouldn't worry about it. I'd just go buy another drill bit because you could buy probably 30 drill bits for the cost of any of these specialized drill bits, you know, like standard ones. So, I mean, you know, a couple bucks on Amazon, get a new drill bit. But yeah, like I said, I wouldn't use a masonry bit, I don't think, or anything like that. I don't know though. I haven't messed around with that. All right, so let's head over to the lathe. Get these guys fired up. So let's go with the porcelain first. Just see how that goes. I'm very curious to see how this color turns out. Actually, the dyes in here. So again, like with the porcelain powder, it's gonna dull stuff, which. Again, I mean, I think if I was going to go for that look, I would just go with like a talc or cornstarch, most likely. Oh, one other thing that I definitely want to mention. So, and I'm going to guess with both of these, you do not want to be breathing the dust coming off of these things, like at all. It's going to be worse than resin dust, wood dust, or any of that kind of stuff. This stuff is probably, if it's abrasive to cut, it's abrasive to breathe. So your lungs are not going to like it. Definitely mask up when you're turning this, and you know, I'm gonna head over. This is, as Jamie pointed out, this is serious talk here, so we're gonna go with face cam. So this is one of those things a lot of people don't think, or maybe don't know. While you're turning and you can kind of see a dust cloud, you know, obviously that's a good cue to put a mask on, right? The thing is, the really dangerous particles in dust, when they're talking about it, you know, long-term health consequences and all that stuff, it's really not the stuff you can see. So a big dust cloud, you know, is not good for you to breathe, but bigger particles don't get trapped in your lungs generally, all right? It's the really fine particles of stuff, and it doesn't matter which kind they are, wood, resin dust, or any of this stuff. But when you're dealing with things like stones, or, you know, a big one is the seashells also. Bone is a really big one. That stuff is super dangerous. It can make you really sick. Mask up and don't take the mask off, really. The good thing is my dust collection system is extremely excellent, but I'm still going to mask up. I think that it's going to suck all the stuff out of the air, basically, as I'm going. But what I'm not going to do is just, you know, cut, turn the lathe off, and take my mask off right away. All right, I'm gonna let the dust collection system kind of filter the air around me from the, you know, the fine particles. Then I'm gonna take my mask off. So just, you know, keep that in mind. You know, just because you can't see the particles doesn't mean that your shop is clear. Make sure to get, you know, it's good to have dust collection. You know, the proper way to do it is like a 3-step program, let's say, with for like dust collection. All right, you need a mask to protect you, you know, right on your face. That is your last line of defense. So you need to have a mask. You need to have dust collection, which is at the source. You want to have, you know, I got that like cone thing, and it's collecting the dust as I'm making it and sucking it into the dust collector. But the third thing that you really want to have in your shop is a filter system that just filters the ambient air. That way it clears all the rest of that stuff that's lingering that you can't see, filters that stuff out so that, you know, you're ready to go. You can take your mask off. So think about that if you do a lot of dusty work. it's good to have three different things. Something that can collect as much at the source, something that's kind of an ambient filter, and that dust mask. And don't just take it off because you stopped the tool. There's still dust in the air. So I just wanted to do a little safety thing before we got started. Just so in case somebody doesn't really know, that's really the proper way to deal with dust. And again, I'm going to stress again, the marble and probably the porcelain too. They're similar. You really don't want to be breathing that dust for sure. So let me get things kind of set up here. I'm going to pull my mask out. I'm using just the RZ. They came out with a new design for the RZ masks. And I've been pretty happy with it. The cool thing is you don't have to mess around with trying to, if you're familiar with the old ones, you'd have to to replace the filter thing. You had to unscrew these little things and it was kind of a pain, honestly. Now, the whole mask, these are integrated into the dust filter, and all you do is you just snap it in. So they really made these things pretty idiot proof. It's quick to change, so there's no reason why you don't have a clean filter in your RZ mask anymore. So I'm gonna mask up. I'll be a little muffled, but we'll get through it. Get my glasses on here, turn the dust collector on, so it'll be a little bit noisier, but like I said, this system really clears dust out pretty quick, and it's not only this one, I've also got, I'm gonna show you guys this, it's kind of a two-step thing. I got the cone, and that's hopefully collecting it right as I make it, but I also have this floor sweep. I'm gonna take my mask off while I tell you guys. This is open also, and you can see, so what that's doing, and this is more for somebody that might want to put in a duct system, it's good to add those floor sweeps, because what that's doing is it's sucking the air down to the ground and the dust particles, especially all the fine stuff. It creates kind of a current downward, not up towards your face. So that's one of the things. I know that it's pretty easy to hang one of those filters for the ambient filters, but if you can pull it downward, that's actually a little bit better, because it's not pulling it excuse me, right in your, I'm already coughing. It's not pulling it up into your face. And they do make filters that kind of can sit on the ground. Excuse me. The Stratus is a pretty good floor standing one. They got Powermatic, and a few other people have box fan style, which you could put kind of on the ground and create that downward current. But that's a good strategy to filter that stuff and pull it downward, to the ground. Well, into the filter, hopefully. Okay, here we go. Going with carbide. And that's probably what I would recommend on these, especially the marble. I think with the marble, you're probably going to be sharpening your tool if you're using high-speed steel, a lot. So carbide's kind of the way to go on these. But as you can see, I mean, it turns fine. It's not like it's super hard or anything. It's just going to have the effect of wearing your edge out a little bit faster than resin. And I am getting shavings, right? I mean, this isn't chalk dust or anything. It's just the dust is gonna have a little bit of that porcelain powder in it. And so it's better to be safe than sorry, on the wrong camera? Shoot. Sorry, guys. Whoopsies. Let's start over here. I'm not gonna take the mask off because I've been turning this stuff. Let me show you guys the floor thing. All right, so I've got a floor sweep. And as you can see, that's sucking the air downward into that hole and into my dust collector, of course. So I've got that, and then obviously I've got my, the cone on the top. And so it's kind of a two-pronged approach with the dust collection, at the source. So sorry guys, you didn't see that, but it's turning fine. I mean, we're getting, shavings and everything. Again, this is the porcelain though. Alright, I think that's probably pretty good there. So let's stop it. Get you guys kind of sideways at this thing. Very dull looking right now, but it looks pretty cool. I like the coloring we got in there. It's very Christmassy. It does feel kind of chalky. It sounded different turning it, but this porcelain really isn't that abrasive. Definitely not like the marble was. So it's looking pretty good right now. One thing that's going to be kind of interesting, I don't know how well this stuff is going to polish, if at all, really. I think if you wanted like gloss, I'm just kind of guessing that you're probably going to have to put a CA finish on if you want glossy looking, a glossy looking pen. Now I'm going to leave the dust collector on for just a second here. Let it kind of clear the air. Shouldn't really take that long. I think while I'm waiting, I'm going to go and get some fresh water because it's kind of funky. So I think by the time I come back, I think we'll be clear. And we'll be able to, I'll get my mask off now. We'll be able to turn off the dust collector. Oh, I got something special that we can do today. I got the Lathe buddies. Almost forgot about that. So I'm actually gonna go over to the other camera and hopefully not forget to switch it this time again. I'm gonna turn the dust collector off because like I said, this thing seems to clear the air pretty well. It collects most of it at the source in the first place. But let's see here. I'm gonna grab the Lathe buddies. I need to figure out. I need to grab a link before the stream's over with today. Forgot about that. But I'm pretty excited. So that's not what I wanted. Intro cam. So these things. So on the back, you got like a waterproof kind of backing on these things, and then you got like a terry cloth towel, and there's even magnets in the corners. And so you can cover your lathe bed and all that stuff with these things. They're really cool. So third gen pen shop and so amazing. That's Roman and Marquetta, brother and sister. He turns and she sews, and they came up with these products, and they're pretty good. I just kind of jokingly bought those. What do they call I can't think of the name. The ShamWows. It was literally, I bought it, and it was way before turning, and I'm like, oh, we'll just use these, it'll be funny. They actually don't even work that well. These things work extremely well, and with the magnets and all that stuff, the waterproof backing, I mean, they're just genius, basically. So let me see if I can find a link. They don't have a website, I don't think. I need to go into my mail real quick, my email. Roman got me. I think basically you can contact them through their Facebook. Let's see here. Where was that? Oh, Facebook. Oh, that's a really long link. Maybe that didn't really work. There we go. Got a shorter link for you guys. So if anybody's interested in these things, they got all kinds of different colors. Let me just double check and make sure that link works correctly. Yeah, and that goes to their third gen pen shop and so amazing. And they've got ways, phone number and email there. Like I said, they don't have just a website you can go to, but they got a lot of different colors. There's 2 different sizes. I forget the names of these things. I got both of them. One of the things that they kind of showed was like the big one can kind of go under and collect, when you're turning, like I'm going to do. The other one is kind of nice to just kind of drape over the back side of the tail stock, behind it, and you can kind of lay things on there while you're waiting. So lots of different things, and frankly, I mean, you could probably even just get away with this on a smaller lathe. The smaller one would probably work for pens especially. I do like having like more kind of protection, I guess, or a bigger cloth with the big one. But they, like I said, work pretty good. I did a couple. I probably turned about 4 pens with these things, and compared to the things that I had, the magnets alone make a huge difference because it can actually grab onto your lathe, and they just look good. So anyway, we'll go back over to the lathe. You can kind of see how these things work. I'll show you. Like I said, I mean, it's just a rag, so it's not like I need to show you instructions on how to use these things necessarily, but I thought it was a pretty brilliant idea. Let me get the camera kind of set up well. So and depending on how you want to do things, I kind of move my banjo back a little bit, and I can drape, like I said, it sticks. These magnets like cover and grab a hold of your lathe. And so it's kind of nice. Like it's not moving or doing anything. And I just put my bucket there. And they're machine washable too. So you just toss them in the washing machine and you're good to go. And then, like I said, I think, I think the idea behind the small one was to just kind of cover the back side of your lathe too. And you can kind of place things there and not get your bedways wet. So pretty cool. I don't really use this because I don't do a whole lot of putting wet things behind there, but if I ever did, this would be awesome, And if you really wanted to, I mean, you could use the smaller one to kind of cover up more stuff if you felt like you needed to. One of the nice things is also you can just hang it on your, it's nice because you can just hang them up and kind of let them air dry, maybe on the back of your lathe or wherever. So pretty cool stuff. So big thank you to Roman for contacting me and sending these out. Let me give them a shot. And like I said, I think they're pretty awesome. I think it's a really smart idea. And if you're looking for something, I mean, you can just throw a towel down, but these things are like literally made for this exact thing. So, all right, so we're getting our, let's see, I lost my gloves. Where'd they go? I don't want to lose my mask either. Definitely want to remember that. Yeah, pretty cool idea, I think. Let's see, I think I saw somebody. Michael DeQuatro's here. What's up, man? And Gabby's here. Yeah. For the lungs' sake. What did Gabby say? You can make dip pen holders. Nice. That's cool. Sweet. What else? All right, I think we're back to. Oh, he went to the Ohio. Nice. Cool. Yeah, he seemed pretty cool. Seemed like a nice guy. In Turner's Warehouse, I think I want to say that they met them at SWAT, possibly. That was the first time that I saw him. Turner's Warehouse kind of showed these things off a little bit, and that's kind of how I got. I don't know. They kind of, Chad was like, hey, Roman's trying to get a hold of you, and I was like, heck yeah, that's cool, because I saw their video. Wherever it was, I don't think they were at their shop or anything. I think it was maybe at SWAT. And I was like, that's an awesome idea. And then I just kind of forgot about it. So I'm starting with 600 grit. Sand this guy up. Like I said, the porcelain powder is dulling this for sure. And I think if you really wanted gloss, one thing I'm going to do is we're going to just polish it up to the gray Zona paper, which is what I would do for like the matte finish type thing. So I just want to see what I'm going to do, as if I was going to just do matte. We're going to stop it and see what that looks like, and then then we can kind of compare it, and then I'll go up and pull out the polish and see how that works. I don't know that I'm almost certain you're not going to get the same kind of gloss that you would on just a resin pen. What are those cups? Oh, the color cups are a bunch of samples. I'm testing. What I'm trying to do is convert my dye recipes to be able to use in clear resin, which means I need to start from scratch completely and redo it. So that's going to take, I don't know, things are going really good. I have quite a few pretty close recipes, I think. The problem is, though, you can do that, put stuff in a cup and whatever, but it doesn't necessarily translate to like the perfect color in like a pen blank, because it's round. So it just takes a lot of time. People say, oh, how do you match colors? You spend months making a lot of samples and trying again until you get it. All right, so that should be pretty good, I think. Yeah, and I think I'm probably, you know, one of the things is there's kind of limited colors from, I don't know, most. So the thing is, for anybody that doesn't know, my team color blanks are made with Alumilite white resin. It's different than what I use on the stream. That is a unique resin. If you mix just part A and part B, don't add anything else to it, it's going to turn totally opaque white. It's a little bit softer than most of your like epoxies and the resins that we typically use. But it allowed me to use just transparent dyes to get recipes. And so all of my recipes use transparent dyes, but that doesn't work with clear resin. And what I want to do is stop making bricks and pour my team color blanks vertically using a clear resin. But like I said, my dye recipes don't work at all in clear resin. So I'd like to switch it over, but like I said, for me to be happy and comfortable doing that kind of a switch, like the colors need to be really good. But one thing that I think I'm probably going to do is there's only so many people that make colors, pre-mixed colors for clear resins. That looks, it's totally smooth, but there's like, I gotta get my glasses out. That's weird. It's like there's like a tool mark, but it's not bumpy. Huh. So I think we're gonna have to sand more with these things also. I'm actually gonna drop down to 400 grit. I usually start with like I said, 600. That's for, regular resin. I'm going to drop down to 400. Try to get these tool marks. I don't know if you guys can see this on the camera. They're pretty bad. It's weird though. It doesn't feel bumpy at all. Let's see if that. Yeah, you can kind of see them right in there. It's weird because it's totally smooth. But it obviously, I'm wearing gloves, but I can't feel any bumps there. So I think we can get those out if we just sand a little bit more, basically, and drop down to a coarser grit. I think that should get us where we want to be. But anyway, going back to the dyes, there's only so many colors out there, and I think I'm probably gonna start doing a couple different like unique colors that you can't get anywhere else, and selling my own pigments. Probably not like an entire line of them or anything, just a couple of unique ones that people might want to use for their own stuff. So we'll see how that goes next year. Let's see how that did. That fixed it up. Yeah, that seems like it fixed it. Get this thing totally dry here. A little bit left right there, but that definitely fixed, or is fixing the problem. So this is a case where you're probably going to have to do a little bit more work. Maybe you just start out stepping down a grit from where you normally would. Normally would start on a pen. Feels a little bit gritty, sanding it, like grittier than normal too. So this stuff is definitely different than the things that we've been doing with the fillers so far. All right, I think I got it. That's looking good. And that's going to be kind of a necessary thing. You're gonna kind of need to. I think this stuff is kind of. I think you're gonna have to go use like new sandpaper more often. That might also be the issue with that. The 600. I feel like this stuff is kind of going through my sandpaper faster. Possibly. I don't know. Let's see what we got here. If we can get this. So it's gonna, if it wears out your sandpaper faster, you're not really sanding it very well, which is also going to affect the, how glossy things get. Terracotta and stucco. Actually, terracotta is one that I have on my mind. I'd like to make a nice army green, possibly. There's a few colors that nobody makes, you can't get, that I think a lot of people would probably like if I can get a good color, if I can get it kind of nailed. And I mean, I want to make it, I want to use it myself. So I mean, first and foremost, I'm making colors for myself. But if I can get some cool looking colors that seem like, might be popular, I think I'm going to go with a new 600 grit. It feels different to me, which probably indicates that it is. It just feels grittier with this fresh piece, Feels like it's doing more. And I used these sandpapers to, did I sand those? I think I sanded those, the Wolverine looking ones, sample blanks. All right, so I think that's probably pretty good. Do a little bit sideways. Have that problem. Oh, to keep the debris. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of making that much of a mess at my lathe. I have limits. It's a good way to go. I have a personal. It's just me. I'm like, I don't really want to get water everywhere. Personally. And this is definitely, so, we were kind of talking about the changing the water. How often should you change your water bucket? This is a case where I really don't think that I would use this water and then go back to like normal blanks. Like you might even argue that switching between the porcelain, just between the porcelain and the marble, two different blanks. This water, I'm guessing that these particles are gonna have like porcelain stuff in them, which is, who knows what kind of like grit, I'm not going to worry that much about it for these, but I'm definitely dumping this out after I'm done with this and going back to like normal resin blanks, because I think that this water would probably cause you some issues with excess scratches that you can't seem to get out for some reason, and it's probably because there's like junk in the water. Typically, I'm not that concerned about it. I'm pretty diligent, but I'm also lazy. And so if I had running water in this part of the shop right here, and I literally just had to like walk 2 feet to go get, clean the water out, fine. But for me to walk all the way to the front of our shop, I'm like, whatever. And I haven't really noticed any problems with it, is the other thing. If I was constantly getting problems with like every pen, then I would be very, very diligent about it. I might even have a system where I had like different separate water cups for every grit. But I think that's pretty excessive, and I just don't think it's that big of a problem. But in this case, the material itself is kind of the problem. So I would probably recommend, if you do use marble powder or something like that, swap it out. This also goes for if you're doing like a true stone blank or those types of things. There's other blanks out there that have pretty abrasive materials in them that I would probably just use your cup of water for that or whatever, your bucket, and then swap it. When I use Zona paper, do I cross? Not every time. I only really go up to like gray or blue, the second or third step, before I go to magic juice. So there's, so really for the most part, I usually do just green and gray. I don't know. There's not that much of a big deal, but I typically do green. So if I was going to go all the way through magic or through Zona papers to like, white, the final step, I would probably side sand with like green and gray, and that's probably about it. I think you can kind of get away with just, as you're going higher and higher, you can probably get away with it. It's up to you though. I mean, I don't know. I don't use these that often, so there's definitely no harm in doing it. After every single step, it's not going to hurt anything for sure. So I just haven't seen any need typically to do that. Doesn't seem like it's necessary. So I usually kind of, again, I'm diligent but lazy if there's really no evidence that I've seen that it's going to make a difference. So I think to clear that up a little bit, I typically green Zona paper, I generally do go sideways. After gray, I don't know. I don't really feel like you need to personally, so I don't usually. All right, so let's get some magic juice going. Where's my magic juice? Ah. There they are. Oh. And I need to go get so it's looking pretty good. Like, again, it's dull. It does look stonish. It's not like, it looks powdery on there. So I'm going to bring the camera in so you can kind of see what the surface looks like right now. What I'm going to do first, if I was going to just do that wind is getting nuts outside. If the stream stops, we might have lost power. So I'm just going to warn you guys right now. So this is what I would do if I was going for a matte finish on any resin pen blank. I like to do this. I feel like gray looked better. We kind of did a little experiment, and I liked the look. You couldn't see really any scratch marks if you went up to gray. It just wasn't total. Like if you pulled out a magnifying glass, you're going to see some scratches, but the gray grit scratches. But to the naked eye, holding it, where people would actually hold it to look at stuff, going up to gray, it looked very even, and you couldn't really see that it had been like sanded. I kind of felt like I could see traces of that with the green only. But I do like going in like a circular motion like this. It just blends in the scratch marks so that pretty much your eye really should not be able to see. It's kind of the idea behind like a random orbit sander, right? If the scratch marks are just random, then your eyes really aren't picking up any kind of pattern, and they're not going to see scratches. Maybe you could do that with green, but they're a little deeper, and it just felt like I could see them more when we did it just with green. Gray looked a little bit better. So let's drop the camera down here. Get you guys in. Let's see, hopefully, what's going on. But it just kind of looks, dull. Looks stone-ish. So hopefully that's sharp. Maybe turn this down just a little bit. But it looks kind of gritty to me. It doesn't look like a normal resin blank. It does look kind of like stone. So it's kind of cool. You know, I don't know. If that's what you were going for, this, you know, maybe porcelain powder might be a way to go. I think you could get a fairly similar look if you just use talc or cornstarch. And that might be a cheaper option as well. All right, so now let's do the polishing, like the full polish with magic juice. We're starting with step 1. I'm going to zoom out a little bit more here. Stop the shaking. 80-mile-per-hour winds again. Ugh. Yeah, I think I heard that we're supposed to be getting like 50 here down in the valleys. It's probably going to be even crazier up in the mountains. Oh, true. Yeah, I don't know if I've turned True Stone, like actually turned it. What is holding the bushing in place in the headstock? This is called a dead center. I don't want to pull it out right now, but I got another one. So it just uses the taper, and it's what's driving. You know, it doesn't spin freely like the live center. It just, you know, the taper holds it in place, and it's what's actually spinning the blank. But it's just another 60-degree cone on the tip going into the 60-degree bushing. And then you got your live center on the tailstock, which, you know, has the bearing letting the thing spin freely. And the dead centers are cheap. I don't know how much they are, but they're definitely not expensive. Most people have a live center, typically, but they're not expensive either. Okay, so step 1. I already cranked the lathe speed up. Come on. I like to kind of wipe it on. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how this works on this kind of stone stuff. I mean, I know it's gonna polish. It's gonna make it glossier than it was, like absolutely. But I think, you know, it's not gonna be anywhere near as glossy as just a resin blank. That's my prediction. But you could overcome that if you just put a CA finish on top. And I wouldn't necessarily, you know, shy away from that anyway, because it's also going to seal it, which may be, it's not necessary for sure. You don't need to seal, you know, porcelain powder. It's not necessary in any way, but you know, it might be, depending on what you want, you might want to do that actually. Again, most of it just has to do with how shiny how glossy it's gonna get. But I mean, if you're going for like a stone look, then I don't even think you want to polish at all, you know. 4 inches of snow in the last 2 days. Whew. It's not too cold here. We haven't really had very cold temperatures yet. It's been kind of cold, like in general. Like it hasn't really gotten very high for like at all. It's just kind of been like, it's kind of a weird, like just in the middle average, but not particularly like bitter cold or anything like that. Just hasn't really gotten warm any weeks. This week I would actually say was the warmest we've seen in a while, getting up in the 50s. But supposedly, I think it's going to cool off in January. That's what I heard anyway. We'll see. And I haven't been up, snowboarding, but I think that they've actually gotten a pretty decent amount. I don't think any of the ski resorts are like fully open yet, but like the whole 100%, but I think they got pretty decent snow so far, which is nice. And because it hasn't heated up much, we haven't had any weeks where it was, kind of warm. I think the snow has also stayed pretty good, which is good. I think I'm going to try snowboarding in January. We'll see. We planned a trip staying up in Tahoe last year, I think before I re-injured my knee, pretty much. So we're going up there, and we did this last year in January, and I had screwed my knee up, and I couldn't even snowboard, so it was like miserable for me. We literally could see the gondola out our window, and I was like, just strangle me now. So I might try to snowboard. We'll have to just see how my knee feels. I don't think I would even try it today, but it's about, I don't know, 2.5 weeks away. And as slow as it's felt with this recovery, 2.5 weeks is actually quite a bit of time. So we'll just have to kind of see. All right, final step. 20 in West Virginia. Yeah, 52. Yeah, it's like, it's been in the 50s this last week for us. All right, so magic step 6. Definitely feels smooth, but let's see what it looks like. I'm just gonna, like I said, venture a guess that it's not as glossy as a normal blank. But I mean, it's glossy. It's got some shine. It's definitely got a little bit of reflection going on, but more dull than normal, for sure. But it looks pretty good. So I think we can just take it off. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit here. Oh, what the heck is that? Oh. There was some random ball rolling around on the ground. It's my tailstock handle thing, knob. Fell off. I was like, what is going on? Where did that come from? Everything's okay. Thought there was like a killer clown in my shop or something. The Joker playing tricks on me. That's pretty cool looking. I like it. I think I got to be honest. I think for this one, I'm actually gonna we're gonna chuck it back up, and I'm gonna actually hit it with the gray. Because although this is fine, the only thing that the glossiness is doing is making it harder to see the blank for me, with the lights reflecting off of it. So like, frankly, it's not as glossy as it would be normally, like a normal pen. So I think we should just embrace the non-gloss and drop it back down. Because it looks like you can actually see you can see the colors and the texture and all that stuff. And so, I mean, if you're going to go through the hassle of this abrasive material, porcelain powder, dust collection, all this stuff, you may as well be like, it's a porcelain blank. It's not meant to be glossy, kind of thing. So I'm actually going to take it right back down. fact, I might need to pull out another gray. We'll see. David. Oh, that sucks. Kind of in the same boat. I don't know if I'm going to be able to snowboard anymore. That lathe is making some funky noise. I'm gonna have to look into that. I don't know what that is. And then, like I said, I'm gonna do my circular motion here. That just kind of hopefully breaks up some of the patterning that could happen. I think I'm going to, for the marble blank, I think I'm going to start over with the papers. Definitely the green and the gray. I'm going to get rid of those because they're feeling pretty dull. I don't know if dull is the right word for sandpaper, but it doesn't feel like it's really being effective anymore. So did that work? Did that bring it back down? My worry is that I'm going to pull out a new piece of gray just to double check. And just kind of do a little, yeah, see that just, it feels different. Because what I want is it just didn't feel dull looking at it. And I want dull. We're going for matte. Okay, let's see if that changed anything. Oh yeah. I feel like that changed something. So I think that piece of paper was pretty much dead. So I'm going to put this way so that I pick it up from this side, hopefully. And I got the right side. Now, I don't know if I grabbed a new piece of 600 at this point or not, so I'm just going to grab another new one. And then I need a new green. This is just for the next round. And I think I'm good on the 400. I can continue using that. Chad's here. What's up, man? We are having some fun with this porcelain powder. The next one's the marble, and that's going to be, I don't think it's going to be as fun. This wasn't too bad. Like I said, this really wasn't particularly abrasive or anything like that. It's definitely more abrasive than a normal material, you know, than just resin. But it's not particularly bad. The marble, like I said, just from the drilling to put the tube in, that stuff sucked. Like it was hard. And I probably need to sharpen my drill bit now. So that one's good. We'll put that aside. Let's get the marble out. I'm very curious to see what the insides of these marble blanks, you know, so regardless of like how it feels and all that stuff, I'm hoping that I nailed. It looks pretty good. Like, you know, I don't know. It's hard to tell what's on the inside, but I think that, I think I might have nailed the marble look with the amount of, you know, color that's in it. So I'm going to put these guys back. Get my lathe buddy out of the way. I really like these lathe buddies though. And again, I can just hang it on, you know, my toolbox or on my lathe. I generally move it away from the lathe because I'm going to be making shavings. You know, turning. I don't know if it matters, but I'd rather just kind of, I've got other metal things right behind me, so. All right, so there we go. We got that going. And again, I want to stress for anybody that didn't hear me disclaim this earlier, If you're turning something like this, where it's literally made with like stone powder, I would highly recommend masking up. Put a mask on. Don't breathe the dust coming off of this. I'm going to be wearing my RZ mask, and I got a really good dust collection system. But even still, and I was saying before, I'm still not going to just take, stop the lathe and then take my mask off, because there's going to be some residual particles. I'm going to kind of let the dust collection system clear the air before I even take the mask off, because I don't want this marble junk in my lungs. Best case scenario, if you breathe that stuff in, maybe it'll just give you like a kind of a short respiratory sickness, illness, but I don't know, it could be even worse. So you don't want to breathe that in. You don't want to breathe bone dust if you've put antler or something in your blanks. You don't want, if you've used seashells, that stuff is really nasty also. Like I would say seashells is probably the worst. So if you're turning any of that kind of stuff, definitely mask up. I mean, you don't want to be breathing any dust, but these are particularly bad. Okay, I got a drink. Masking up. Let's see, I'm going to check out, before we begin, I'm going to check out the chat here. Yeah, I feel like it looks, again, I actually have not turned, I make so many materials that I generally don't need to buy other materials and try them out or anything. And I'm not trying to copy anything else either. So I kind of stay away from other materials typically. I don't really have time to turn other stuff much. But from what I've seen, yeah, like, it's dull and it looks stony to me. It's kind of a cool, like a weird, it feels like a, it feels like a vintage Christmas pen to me, or something, vintage seems like old. I don't know. It's kind of cool with the dull look. All right, so let's see. I just wanted to make sure. What would I charge for something like that? It just depends. I don't really sell pens that much. I mean, again, I always make this statement. My thing is like blanks. I sell blanks, and that's my focus. These are fun. I just like doing these experiments to see what the materials. My focus is more on the materials typically, so I don't have like a website with a bunch of pens. That's probably going to change. I'd like to change that because I have like hundreds of pens. But something like this, we'll get it all put together. Probably, I don't know, probably like $30 or something like that. I think that's about the going rate for my work. The problem is I don't really have, it takes extra time to take pictures and do all that stuff, get the listings up, and then try to market that stuff. It's more time. So I usually don't do any of that kind of stuff right now. But if anybody sees a pen that they like, just ask me for it, and it's probably like, unless it's like I've made it for a gift or something like that, they're all available. Never mask up. Yeah, no, that stuff is really bad. And I didn't know about it, but there's something, and maybe Chad knows. There's something in it that is dangerous. Like it can like make you ill. And same thing goes with the seashell stuff. That it's got stuff in it that's also bad. It's not just the dust issue. There's stuff in it that's bad for your health. Beyond just so it's like a twofer. The dust is going to get in your lungs, and that's not good. But then there's also this other stuff that is particularly bad for your health. And I can't remember what it is, but I'm always like, whoa, if there's bone or antler or any of that kind of stuff, stone, I'm like, mask up, let's go. All right, let's get the magic juice out of here and we'll go. So before I start, the marble isn't so hard that it's gonna be like I'm fighting it. It's gonna wear the edge down quicker. on my, you know, where my tool edge down, and it's gonna feel sluggish turning it, but I don't think it's gonna be particularly like noticeable, you know. We'll see. See, I'm getting shavings, but it is, like I said, the material feels slower. And it literally just kind of sounds abrasive, kind of. And it's powdery, chalk dusty feeling. All right, I think should be in the ballpark now. A little bit to take off on this end. It's a little kind of fat. This side's good, but it kind of bumps out like right there. I'm gonna do a little bit of trimming there. Trim this down. It's kind of bumpy. But I don't know if you can see this, but I mean, it looks, it's weird. It's like a speckled surface. See that? Which is probably like a bunch of little pinholes or something. I don't know. Feels gritty. This is definitely, you know, like this is more stone feeling, you know, than the porcelain. And part of it might have been that there's like larger chunks of the dust, might be like larger chunks of it, maybe. I don't know. There might have been some air bubbles is what's causing some of this stuff. I don't really know, like really fine air bubbles. Not really sure. But like I said, I'm going to take a couple more cuts. Now, one thing I want to mention is I'm not like blowing off and creating a giant dust cloud with this thing. That's one thing that will, if you're not, this will create a giant dust cloud that's going to be even harder for my dust collection to pick up because it's going to blow it in like further. So I'm trying to, if I'm wiping my fingers off and the tool, to hold it really right in the dust collector cone and lightly, you know, hitting it and trying to blow it that way. Otherwise it can kind of get all over the shop. And it's, what's going to happen is you're just going to have to wait longer before you can take your mask off. All right, so I got to get the camera out of my way a little bit here. There we go. I'm gonna put some little my reading glasses on so I can see what I'm doing here. Okay, I think that's good. So I'm just gonna let the dust collector run for a little bit longer while I'm getting everything ready for the wet sanding portion. Now again, if this may be a case where you might want to seal it, you know, put like CA on it and just seal up some of this stuff. You'd want to clean everything out, these little holes and stuff. And you can actually see a little bit of tube on this end. So I didn't paint the tubes. That's interesting. I don't think we put a whole lot of dye in there. I'm actually curious, while we're waiting for the dust collection to kind of clear out, let's see how much white dye we put in. Let's see here. Oh, I don't have, maybe, actually, I don't think we put anything in there. I'd have to go back into the video and just double check that, but I don't even think we added white dye to this. So just a little bit kind of see-through though on the ends. All right, I think that's probably pretty good. Again, I got that it really is sucking, you know, most of that fine dust down. I did some testing. I have one of those like particle meter things or whatever, air quality. And that's why it's not like I'm like, well, it seems good, because again, the dangerous stuff is the stuff you can't see when you're talking about dust. But I've done some tests on this, and it doesn't take very long as I haven't made a giant mess at my lathe, you know, and like kind of created a cloud of dust. Generally, most of it's getting picked up right here, you know, off the cone. But the stuff that kind of doesn't make it in there, falls to the ground and all that stuff, it's getting sucked up by that bottom vent. It's pulling the dust down and the fine particles and all that stuff. So it clears out the air pretty well in here. Otherwise, I would just keep my mask on and let the air filter, because I do have a filter system too. Let that thing run for, you know, 15, 20 minutes or something like that. It depends on, the biggest problem is we have a 4,000 square foot shop and my part is 800 square feet here, but it's not even like sealed. So it's really hard for me to just use like an air filter thing and really fully clear my area out. I can't just say, well, I have this many cubic feet, it'll take this air filter this long. We have 18-foot ceilings, which doesn't help anything. So it's very difficult if I create a giant dust cloud, like I gotta pretty much just leave. And keep the filters and all that stuff on for quite a while, let it kind of settle. Sometimes big shops are not, everybody kind of wants more space, but
shut up and
at this
take
point,
my money.
I'd be happy with like 1,000 square feet, but like split where there's like a casting part that's like closed off, you know. I like how Jake's got his set up. Kind of, his shop's even probably too big for what I would need, but I think that's like perfect. What do you guys think? What's like the perfect size shop? This ought to be an interesting discussion. There's a lot to be said for like small spaces, but they are a pain because I was in just a 2-car garage before this doing woodworking, and you have to move everything around just to do one operation. Really big ones are kind of tough too. I don't think, no, the kits aren't $20, I don't think. These are just the, like a Monarch. I don't know, offhand. Barb's here, what's up? Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. I don't have a market. I don't really sell pens, so I don't know, whatever. I'm not that worried about prices of pens. Hey, thanks for the super chat, Chad. I appreciate it. Yeah, Merry Christmas to you too. If your life half the garage. Do you have, how many, is that like a 2-car garage? 3-car, yeah, that's pretty good. Like, one of my things, some things you could just store, possibly like in like a shed or outside, somewhere outside like the shop, main shop area, like wood, things like that, materials and certain things. Like, I think that if you kind of, like a 2 or 3-car garage, I would say probably like a 3, and then like outside storage, that would be probably pretty good. I'd be like very content with that. I think if I had like whatever, like if I could have whatever I wanted, I think like 1,000 to 1,500, but like I said, split up between like a kind of a resin, split like 3 ways: office, resin casting, and then like a kind of dusty, turning and dust collection, dust making machines and stuff. Definitely, this is a really good reason to use, to do wet sanding, not dry sanding. I don't have to worry about the particles and all this junk getting in the air with the water. So that's one of the biggest advantages to wet sanding. Yeah, it always definitely depends. It depends on how many tools you got, what kind of things you're trying to do, all that stuff. One of the problems I have is I only have 2 walls that I can actually that are actual walls. The other two are plastic sheet. And so that doesn't help in this shop. I also have a lot of big tools that I don't really use anymore. Like even my table saw, I got like the gigantic fence system that I never use. I'm seriously considering just actually buying the shorter fence thing for the saw stop, because I don't need, it's just a bunch of wasted space. I don't even use it to like, it just collects stuff, if that. So, you know, between wasted space of things and I don't know, I don't need as much space usually. I think one of the hard things for me is like all the 3D printing stuff. I don't really have a good area to just do that. And like that's what it is. Like I do, the printers are behind me, you see that. So that's like a decent space for them, but like the cleanup, you know, area to wash the prints and all that stuff, that's on my middle. It's basically an assembly table, but that thing needs to be like changed out all the time. And right now it's all just 3D printing stuff. Big shop folks looking to adopt. I like it. And then, like I said, you know, like my dad's shop is 4,000 square feet. That's ridiculous. I couldn't, I wouldn't want something that big, period, for what I do. The cool thing is like he has like a car and like a lift, you know, thing for his car in here, and you know, he does his own stuff. We got an office in that space, and my thing is in here too. But it's a lot of. It also doesn't. It's not nice to have to like heat and or cool. It's too big for us to cool. It would cost a fortune. So we can't cool it in the summer, but we do heat it, and that costs a fortune in the winter. So it's kind of tough, you know. Workshops are. It's kind of a conundrum. And no matter how big your shop is, you'll fill it up. Okay, I was just giving that a good sanding because we saw those tool marks last time. And I started with the 400. So I'm going to pull out the readers here. It's still like speckled. And I don't know what that is. I don't know if I can get that to kind of pick up. I mean, I'm thinking it's like marble chunks. I don't really think it's like bubbles. I'm going to see if I can get you guys in there to see this. I told you that it felt more gritty, and it's definitely more abrasive than the porcelain powder, and I'm thinking that it was like a more mixed particle size kind of thing. It wasn't just like one, like a super fine powder, like baby powder or something like that. I don't know if you guys can see this. Yeah, you can kind of, yeah. See how but they're kind of shiny. Like they kind of sparkle like they're like crystals. It's kind of hard to see. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's marble chunks. That's interesting. So, I mean, they're big. You know, I don't know if that came out on camera there, but pretty large. Like I wouldn't call that powder. Like that was like sandpaper chunks, like 80 grit sandpaper chunks or something like that, or more. So interesting. Let's see here. I'm going to do my side sanding. I don't think I did that before. That doesn't feel like. I'm going to use the middle. I think I might have worn down this 400 a little bit. Yeah, you could use, I don't have any sanding sealer. You could maybe do that. I don't know that there's holes in it though. I mean, that's what sanding sealer is doing, is filling the grain. So, I don't know. I'm not sure if it is like porous or, whatever. I think there's just grit particles in there. All right, so moving on to the 600 grit, we got a brand new piece. So it should sand it up pretty nice. Tractor storage, yeah. I mean, eventually we want to get a house with some land, but I don't know if that's ever going to be possible, the way house prices are going. We missed our opportunity in 2010. Well, actually we moved in 2012 when we moved up here, but we didn't have any money, so lost out. Yeah, maybe there is some other stuff mixed in with that stuff. I don't know. Yeah, the router, I had always thought about maybe getting a router lift kind of in the wing, because I have a router table too. And I think that would be pretty cool to just use the table saw as space for that. Because I don't route anything. Like, that's the thing, is I have all these woodworking tools and I really don't do, woodworking. I used to kind of build custom furniture. That's what I was trying to do. And smaller projects. But so like I got, a 6-inch joiner, planer, router table. I got a lot of stuff that I don't really use that much. Okay, we got our 600 done. I'm just going to kind of wipe this off here. Go up to our green. And I'm absolutely certain that we're not going to get this polished. So I don't think I'm even going to waste the time pulling magic juice out. We're just going to go to the gray Zona paper. Because if we couldn't really get the porcelain to look good, this is much grittier and like duller than that stuff was. Anybody have any New Year resolutions, things that they're thinking about for next year that has to do with your shop? Is there any like skills or projects that you're looking forward to doing in 2025? I haven't really thought about it myself. I guess the project that I'm working on is the pigment thing, trying to get the team colors poured vertically, which means I need to come up with all these recipes for the team colors and all that stuff. I'd say that's probably my big thing. That's been going on, ongoing though, for a few months here. Yeah, I did cut like cutting boards and things like that too. I really enjoyed the furniture thing, but it's harder to it's hard to sell that stuff. I mean, like, realistically, we're all in this kind of maker community, and I think things have changed somewhat with YouTube now, where it's more like when I first got into woodworking. I mean, YouTube actually wasn't even a thing. It was a cat video platform. I didn't do great yet. Let's see. And so there was, these video podcast things back then. But so things have kind of changed, and like a lot more people kind of understand like the maker movement kind of thing and all that. And it's not as weird for people to know that people hand make furniture, that it's a thing. You don't just buy furniture. You don't have to just buy furniture at like the furniture store, Ashley Furniture. When I was trying to sell custom furniture, I mean, that was kind of Like you had to first educate people that you could have custom furniture made from scratch. And then you had to try to sell them the piece of furniture. And then they heard the price tag and they're like, what? So it was kind of tough. And I just kind of kept getting smaller and smaller. Then I got into turning and things just completely changed. Fell in love with that. Stop buying stuff for the garage. Why? That's the fun part. Onefinity CNC. Sweet. Nice. Nice. Yeah, you'll be able to do all kinds of stuff with that. Do more art festivals. Cool. Yeah, fusion, it would be really nice. The problem is, I've like tried, but the problem is I go months between having to use it, and it just, like, I could force myself, I guess, to try to do things with it, but I don't. That's my biggest problem with, you know, with lasers, with a lot of things. Time is tough, and I find myself like not having enough time to do all these things and like continue practicing them. You have to be able to put time into it, you know, periodically, otherwise you just forget everything. So I've learned how to use Fusion like 50,000 times for different things. I'm getting a little better. I've learned a little bit to the point where like the things that I have had to do haven't taken nearly as long to redo if I need to make changes or something like that. But for me to make something from scratch, oh man, it's not worth it. I could just pay somebody to design stuff for me. So like I said, we're just gonna do the matte finish on this. I don't, it's not gonna look good, and I don't want to do like a CA. My thing is, for these, like, again, if you're gonna go for marble powder in this stuff, then you may as well accentuate it, I think, because otherwise it's just, you know, you could have, if you put a CA finish on this, it's gonna look plastic. You know, you've put a plastic barrier over that material. And so what's the difference between, you know, we've already made marble looking resin blanks. You're better off just going for like mimicking it completely and going plastic, I think, personally. That's my personal feeling. You might get a little bit, like the texture, I think, on this might feel different than just a regular resin blank. So, you know, I think I'd rather just go with matte anyway. If you want gloss, go for a resin blank. The bummer here is I didn't think about it. I really kind of thought these things would be pretty opaque because we dumped a lot of that marble powder in there. But the ends, you know, where it thins out, there's a little bit of a gold tinge to it. But that's okay. I'm not super disappointed, but it's the reality. All right, so let's get this thing out. See what we got going on here. Hold this thing up for you guys. I'm going to kind of back up just a little bit. Might even go a little higher and then like that. Make sure it's focused. So I think, I mean, really, again, you know, the ends being a little bit see-through, it's not super noticeable. I mean, I'm looking at this with my readers on, and it's not like the tube or something, like you don't know what's going on. It just kind of has like maybe a little bit of a yellow tone, like right there, background. So it's not like it's super coming through or anything like that. I would probably paint the tube white if I was going to do these blanks, but I think I nailed the marble look. Just very minor, you know, a couple streaks. I think it passes. Now, the feel of it, let's go get I still have the matte one we did with the talc. So here's the one with talc powder. Obviously more colorful, but yeah, this feels a little bit more texture-y. I mean, very subtle, very subtle. They do feel different. This feels like smoother. And we did the same finish, technically, but this feels a little bit rougher, like slightly, compared to this. So I don't know. I think it's cool. I don't know, you know, though, it's not like I would be like, oh, we need to make lots of these marble blanks. I don't know how much that marble powder cost, but I didn't, you know, we used all of it already, number one. And, you know, you could probably find it online somewhere. That I bought that from Alumilite many years ago. I mean, probably like, I don't know, eight years ago or something like that. And I don't think they sell it anymore, but there's probably places that you could find that marble powder. But I mean, I don't know, you know, is it really worth it? Who knows? Depends on what you're going for. It could be worth it, but I think for most people it probably isn't. But it wasn't so abrasive that it was annoying or, I mean, some of those, I'm telling you, the seashells thing, I really did not like those. I did not enjoy that one bit. It was not fun. No part of it. I ended up bowing out and put the tools away and just sanded it because I was just waiting for it to explode. And I had put so much time into it that I'm like, I need to finish this. But it was actually to the point where I would consider it dangerous. Trying to push it through the saw blade, it was dangerous. I really did not like that. And the problem was, and I'm talking, I only made like 2 blanks or something like that. It wasn't like a brick of these things. It was just, you know, like the singles, like the Jake Blanks ones. I only made like 2 or maybe 4 blanks or something like that, but I don't even think I actually cut all of them square. I was only working with 2 blanks, and literally the first instant that the blade touched the blank, just a hair on the outside, I wasn't even cutting through an entire brick or anything, it literally dulled the blade instantly, and then you're stuck with either just stopping or just like jamming it through there, and it was terrible. Like it was not a good way to go. So I didn't like that project at all. It was not particularly fun, but this was fine. I didn't really feel, now if I made a brick of marble blanks, I think that it would not be very fun cutting it that way on a table saw. Vertically though, it was fine. Just cross cutting it, it was not a big deal. It did wear on the blade much faster than any, you know, like just a resin blank. All right, so let's get the camera here. Santa's bringing a 22-watt laser. Nice. Mark's looking at a 3D printer. Sweet. I don't know. Let's see. Let me go back up here. I missed a couple of these things. Yeah, these comments here. $10 acres. I don't want 10 acres. You gotta deal with the 10 acres too. But I mean, even so, I don't want to live in Oklahoma, really. That's the problem, is $450,000 to live in Oklahoma. No. It's just tough, guys. It's just tough. What am I doing? I needed a drink. Why did I walk away? I guess that's all I needed was a drink. Mike's setting up the shop. Nice. It's fun. I enjoy, I mean, I know it's not like making stuff. I really enjoy like the planning of, you know, the shop. I used to, man, when all I was doing, it was just a hobby. When I first got started, I mean, I rearranged my shop like probably like every quarter. Which the thing was, I didn't know what I was doing, and I had to. I realized that there was massive inefficiencies. You know, I was in a 2-car garage. I had a lot of tools, and so I was learning things that you know, like things needed to be changed because it just didn't work, kind of things back then. But I've changed the layout in this shop a couple times. I haven't done it for a long time because I'm at the point where I'm like exhausted. Like moving all these things around, these big heavy machines is just like, I'm like, no thanks. I don't want to do that. But it's fun. I like planning, and you're like, okay, and I can do this, and this will fit here. And moving it in, it's really nice to have kind of a new shop setup, I think. Yeah, the China, I know. It's funny, like, you know, once you learn furniture making skills, you know, you get into woodworking and you understand kind of joinery and all these different things. It's amazing how crappy some of the furniture is out there. You just look at it, because then you start going, oh, how did this go together? And it's terrible, pretty terrible most of the time. There's some pretty, like, really expensive furniture that's reasonable, that's like mass produced, but most of it's not. It's pretty bad. Michael just bought a bandsaw and hid it from my wife. I love it. How do you hide a bandsaw? Where'd you hide it? That's funny. Set up your shop in your daughter's bedroom. Oh, that's nice though. Hopefully by April. Let's see here. Who else? Let's see here. Sorry guys, I missed a lot, so I'm just checking it out here. $12 on Amazon for a pound of marble stuff. Oh, maybe actually that's what I bought. Actually, hold on a minute. Did I? Oh, okay. So sorry guys, I ran out of the porcelain. This is literally from Amazon, so that's probably what I bought. So that's not too expensive. And I do obviously have some left. $12 a pound. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it depends on if it's worth it. The thing to keep in mind is, I would say that my cutter, the carbide cutter, still felt like it was cutting well. It didn't really tear that apart, I wouldn't say. I was using a standard cutter, by the way, guys. It may be a little duller, but I could use that more. You know, and we did kind of two pens, and I don't think that there was anything significantly abraded or dull about that cutter. My table saw blade was affected. My drill bit definitely was affected. So keep that in mind. You might have to sharpen certain things much quicker. Let's see here. So let me just make sure I'm not missing any other questions or comments. It's still in the box in the garage. That's funny. All right, so let's get these guys put together here. Get this thing kind of zoomed in. Oh God. Yeah, things seemed like they were kind of stuttering a little bit. So I was thinking, and I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I was kind of thinking I wanted to go with this, the brushed copper for this one. And I'm trying to figure out, so what I'd like to do, I'm going to look at this, and it seems like this end is more, the tube kind of sticks out a little bit more. It's not like, it's, something's going on with my cameras. Huh. I wonder if my computer stuff is like freezing. Are you guys hearing me? Okay. Something weird is going on. I think the internet is being slow, actually. Anyway, so this side seems like it's more noticeable with the tube. It's just there's a little bit more like yellow looking. So I think what I want to do is like cover some of that up. I'm thinking like maybe put this kind of mark on the side. I don't think I really want to cover it. Well, that's not too bad. I don't know. What do you guys think about, this is a tough one for me. There's a lot of like not much going on the back side here, and I don't really like that. I don't think I'd rather kind of keep that kind of on the bottom. Maybe do this. No, I think it needs to go right here. I think we're gonna do that. What do you guys think? Yeah, it was kind of jumping and doing weird stuff. I don't know what was happening. Oh yeah, the hydrocast thing. I haven't tried that yet. I don't know if it's strong enough technically, but I would like to test it out someday. So I'll probably have them send me a sample of that stuff. So I don't know. I'm thinking that that's kind of cool. It'll be like kind of on its side where you see that big thing. See a little bit on this side. There's not a lot going on the back necessarily. So I'll just kind of wait a second here and see if anybody has any thoughts about that. That's what I'm thinking we're going to do. While I'm waiting, I'm going to go get the other blank. One thing I could do, I don't know if it matters. Yeah, like even this one, even the porcelain one feels smoother to me. Maybe not. Yeah, a little bit. Interesting. Okay, so I don't think anybody's got any thoughts. That's one of the hardest. Oh, what am I doing? This is the right way. Okay. Thought I had the handle on the wrong side, but I was wrong. There we go. It's wanting to go in sideways there. Oh, it still is. Oh, too far. This one's a little bit tight. Nope. Kind of going in sideways here. See if I can get it. Sometimes these things are just a little bit tight. There might be a little bit of excess glue. Sometimes, there we go. I think there we go. It's straightened itself out. And then we just pop it together. That's pretty, I like that. I'm digging that. I think it's pretty cool, especially this side. Very rustic. And think if I wasn't holding this, I've been kind of, touching it a lot. I think if you just kind of let this sit on the table, it's not going to feel like super cold like stone necessarily, but I do think it would be cooler to the touch than like a resin blank. I think you would have some of those properties in there. It's pretty cool though. I like this kit. This is a Monarch, and I have, let's see, I got a link to them in the description of the video. So just go to the video if you guys want to pick up a Monarch kit from Turner's Warehouse. That's where I got these. That's pretty cool looking. That looks, I don't know, I like that. It's nice. Okay, so I'm gonna unscrew this. I didn't put the ink in. There we go. The little, okay, it was already off. Yeah, I like that. All right, Merry Christmas, David. Have a good one. See you next week. All right, so then we got our, and I decided to go with this one with a little jewel. I don't know. I'm not entirely certain if this is a monarch or not now, but I don't. This one's a little easier. Like it just kind of looks the same no matter what. There's nothing to really hide, I don't think. I don't know that it really matters which direction or any of that stuff. I'm just kind of looking at this to see if there's a spot that that really stands out. It's really all kind of looking the same to me though. Okay, I think I like that. And that one went on a little bit easier there. This time, let's see. You just push this together. Oh, that's nice. I like that too. It's bejeweled. So let's add our ink to there, to this guy. Okay. It's got the little cover on there. Yeah, I like that too. Not bad. We got two, like I said, they're like, they feel like antique-y or something. I don't know. I don't know what the word is there, but I'm really digging this one with the just kind of minimal, color going on, but I think it goes well with the copper. So if you're going for like a marble kind of blank, copper's not a bad choice, I don't think. It really kind of just pops out. You could call it rose gold. I've literally seen some some pen companies call copper, it's basically just copper, rose gold. So this one's got kind of a different kind of top thing. I don't know if this is a monarch actually, now that I think about it. They're very different. I'm not sure which one that is. Very cool though. Did anybody? I don't think so. Nobody said anything. So pretty cool. So I'll probably make some more of the marbles. I don't have any more porcelain powder, but I'll probably make some more of these with some of the powder. I'm kind of running out, but if I need to get some more, I'll get more for the Pen Blank Club. So we got that. And like I said, there are some challenges to this material. Again, you might want to just go get a drill bit, a new one, before you even begin drilling out a blank that's got this kind of abrasive material in it, because it's pretty much going to be dull after that, and you don't want to be using a dull drill bit. So like I said, drill bits are pretty cheap, a couple bucks. Get them on Amazon or wherever. You can get them locally a lot of times. You can get a pack of them many times even. So they can be pretty cheap. That might be a really good one, especially to get like a cheap drill bit for, and just kind of say, okay, used it once or whatever. But other than that, I mean, I didn't feel like they were particularly difficult or anything like that. They turned fine, so not too bad. Now, would I recommend using marble or porcelain powder often? Probably not. I mean, I don't know that the advantages really outweigh much, for other stuff. I think that for looks, you can make a marble look. We've made marble looking blanks in the past, and I think they worked just fine. For looks wise, there wasn't much difference between this and the marble blanks that we made that were just resin. So it's more of a novelty thing. You can be like, oh, there's marble in there, or porcelain, but is it worth going through the hassle of drill bit, dulling and saw blade dulling? I don't know. I've totally switched to using the disc sander for doing the trimming the ends. And I think I can get you guys kind of set up over here, sort of. Moving the other camera, I'll just kind of, because you can, my setup is like, I think visible. Yeah. And it is the greatest thing on the planet. And I'm going to get a link to this. I use the Turner's Warehouse, the Maker's Select brand, but which basically Turner's Warehouse makes these things. So you get a punch set, and then this little doohickey holds it in a little V groove. And so all you have to do, let me go grab, well, you're going to need a miter gauge, a fence of some sort to put the thing on the blank, to reference, the 90 degrees. And then all you do is you just take your blank, put it on the thing, and I don't even clamp it or anything. I just hold it like this, make sure it's, vertical, turn the thing on, and you just come in with your hand, and it takes like 2 seconds. It's dead square, and then I flip it, do the other side. It is the greatest way to do barrel trimming or whatever, to square up the ends on the planet. There's no sharpening of tiny stupid things. It's great. It's really great. I would say the only drawback, or the only thing that you have to keep in mind, is you got to make sure that fence is 90 degrees to your disc, right? If it isn't perpendicular, you're going to run into some serious problems. But in general, it's not hard to do that. Grab a square and just line it all up. It's super fast. You never have to worry about blowing up blanks. And that little holder thing for the punches is not even expensive, I don't think. Let's see what they're charging for that thing. I think they call it a squaring jig. Yeah, squaring, sanding jig. $23. I mean, we were talking about the stupid pen kit was $20 or whatever. Like, this thing is going to be invaluable, I think, for many people. Now, you have to have a disc sander, or it doesn't have to be a disc necessarily. It could be just a belt sander type thing. But disc sanders are not expensive either, really. So, and you don't even need a big one or anything like that. It's pretty good. I always used barrel trimmers forever because it was just so easy. They were dead square. There was no question it was going to be square, right? But you had to sharpen those things, and they were a pain to sharpen, all that stuff. And the other problem for me was other squaring jigs have come out over time, years ago, and they always were terrible. I really did not, they didn't work well. And so I'm like, it was annoying. When Turner's Warehouse came out with that one, the simplicity of just using the punch, you don't have to have weird bushing things and all that stuff. It just works so simply. So like I said, you will need a disc sander, you will need a punch set, which every pen turner should have a punch set. Disc sander, that might have to be an extra expense or something, but they are very useful. But it is by far the best way. Now, I'm trying to think if there's another way you could do that with, like, maybe the lathe. Offhand, I can't think of anything. I don't know. I mean, honestly, the best way to go is a disc or belt sander with that can accept a miter gauge to square it up. Greatest invention ever. Definitely try that out, especially if you're doing difficult blanks, like things that could blow up easy. Sanding is really the best way to do it, period, for those types of blanks. But at this point, I have those things, the little punches. I have it in my Sierra, my cigar size, and then the junior size. It's just over there all the time. And I just pop them on, do that. The one thing, I have a pretty coarse grit set up on there. And so I do have to usually go in. Sometimes there's glue on the inside of the tube anyway, but I do have to kind of go in. It kind of creates a little, like a burr of the tube. So like the bushing doesn't fit in there. So I have to kind of scrape that around a little bit. And I just use this little kind of knife thing. That's the only drawback, I guess, or whatever. But I mean, it takes me 2 seconds. Never have a problem. It's a pretty good one. Marble handled pizza cutter. That would be pretty cool. So, you know, I mean, there's things that I would do this with, but I don't know if cobalt would make a difference. I've looked into that and I don't think I think it's more for hardness, the cobalt thing, and like metals. I may be wrong, but because I really looked into drill bits and all there's a million different types of drill bits out there, and I don't think cobalt was really the way you wanted to go. It would probably wear a little less, but I still think that unless you get into like the kind of abrasive grit type particles, diamond, and there's other types of grit particle things like that, I don't think it's going to make much difference. I would just get a cheap one. A cheap high-speed steel, and that's it. Yeah, drill chuck. That's not too bad. I've done the lathe. You can do it on the lathe. Just put put your drill chuck in the tailstock, and you can just hold the punch there. Move your tailstock up, and then you can just use a faceplate with a disc sander. The problem is, though, it's running on the center part, which is going the slowest. You're better off like offsetting it. And people have made jigs for the lathe to offset it off the end. In a pinch, if all you got to do is you got one pen that you're making that you absolutely cannot, it's brittle and could break if you're using your normal methods. Using the center thing, using your lathe will work. It's just not great. The best setup that I've ever seen is the disc sander and the squaring jig thing. Yeah, I know, the floor space. I know. One more tool. So for 2025, everybody's going to go buy a disc sander, right? Yeah, center of the disc. It's not very fun. So anyway, guys, I also have to get going here because we're doing 2 Christmases. We're doing kind of an early one with Gretchen's family, and her sister came into town kind of early. She likes to like avoid the holiday travel thing. So it works great. We get to do all this stuff, and then we don't have to even compete with families. We do kind of an early one, and then we do like the on-time Christmas stuff with my family. So I got to get things wrapped up in the shop here, and then back home, and then back up to Reno. So anyway, guys, I hope everybody has, like I said, a wonderful holiday, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. Hopefully you'll have fun this week. We'll be back next Saturday. I'm not sure what we're doing yet. Don't have any plans per se, I don't think, for next week yet. I'll have to kind of think about it. But one thing that would be kind of fun is to maybe do some projects, probably do some sort of an experiment. But one thing that I've got, and I forgot about actually, Turner's Warehouse sent me a bunch of their bead kits, and like the whole kit and everything, with the bushings and all that stuff. And so there's like these little tiny little project kits, and I think it'd be kind of fun to maybe make some blanks that would work well for beads. I want to make a bunch of when they came out with those things, I was thinking lamp pulls. I think that would be pretty cool. We got a bunch of them in our house that have just the whatever little pull chain things. I think it'd be cool to use the little beads for lamp pulls. So maybe we'll do something, thinking along those lines or something like that. I mean, you could use anything really. And the beauty of those bead kits is you just use scraps. But I think it'd be fun to make some blanks and do something kind of fun in the shop, and then do something with the bead kits. So anyway, guys, like I said, have a very Merry Christmas. Thanks for joining the fun today. I guess we'll say it. If anybody is interested in either of these pens, they are available, and they're probably cheaper than most people think they ought to be. I don't know. We'll see on pricing and all that stuff, but let me know. And I think that's about it, guys. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of the night, and I'll see you guys all on the next stream.